Beastgrave and Beastgrave accessories.
Spiky bits.
Welcome back, Hobby Maniacs. I'm Rob Baer from SpikyBits.com, and we've got the new Beastgrave accessories for you today. Now, of course, everybody's seen the dice and seen the sleeves before, so I didn't want to waste everyone's time with all that. But we've got some newly upgraded, new and improved products right here that I definitely want to talk about. New counter set in the primal layer, the hexes. They did this last time for Nightfall, and I think maybe in response to a lot of people 3D printing the hex spaces or the block spaces from Shadespire, which I thought, good on GW for kind of coming up with another product to sell based on popularity and what's going on out there in the world, and just being cognizant of all that. So this new box is $30. The counter set, we're going to talk a little bit more about that. This is an interesting offering. I think it's a little ambitious on their part for $15. Then we've got the Beastgrave carry case. Now this is much larger than the ones we've seen in the past. The ones that you're probably familiar with, you've seen for like Kill Team and maybe even Blackstone Fortress. They're about this big. This one's a little bit bigger. This is $50 US. And then last but certainly not least, we have the new Playmat here. Now this Playmat is $18, and you may notice something different about it, the packaging this time. So first up, we're going to talk about the Primal Lair Hex set here. Now you get 6 hexes for $30, which is just basically these 2 sprues right here, as you can see, and some assembly instructions on how to put them together and such. There's the finished products. If the painted pictures didn't do it for you right there, this kind of gives you an idea. And I was looking at these and I was actually kind of impressed. I think this is some of the more detailed sculpts they've got coming out of China. These are developed in the UK but produced in China, and right there you can see the big one with the bones on it, and then it jumps over to just the single ones like the stalactites or stalagmites. I never get which one is which right there. There's some sort of like the amber rock thing, I guess, that sometimes they shoot. I guess in the new Oruk book they can shoot that and make people charge them or whatever. Then you've got this crazy big skull right here and some poofy burninating little rock formations. And then over to here you've got the Sarlacc pit, and then it shows you what they're all supposed to look like put together right there. Now, like I said, once we start kind of looking at the quality of these right here, you can see that they're actually pretty well done. Like, it's not that big super, I mean, it is in some regards a big super Chinese kind of plastic, but there is a lot more detail, or at least it seems like there's a lot more detail. Like there's cuts in the bone right here, there's depth, a little bit of topography here around the skull, so things that would actually show up and make painting them a little bit easier. Lots of bone work and stuff down in here, so they've come a long ways. I was actually surprised these smoke clouds were one whole part. Now you're gonna have to trim those up and scrape them down pretty good, because there's probably some wicked mold lines in there. Yep, we can see it right there, but just be aware of that. And then the Sarlacc pit is got some tentacles that kind of go down in there, and it's a little square. I mean, all of it's square because it's hex based and developed on the computer, and it takes a little bit more time to make things round and such, but I think it lends itself kind of nicely to the whole like Underworlds kind of hex feel, a little Minecrafty at times, I suppose, which is maybe why it appeals to some of us. So I'm not going to put these together because it's going to take forever to like clip them all off and trim up the mold lines. But if you've seen a set like this, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's funsies. If you got your warband, you got your all your other stuff, and you're just like looking for something else to hobby on, well, this might be it for you. So next up is the counter set, and like I said, this is probably more of an ambitious product for them. Like, it's $15, comes with 48 themed counters for Warhammer Underworlds. But the big question that like a lot of people are like, wait, what? Because if you've, I already lost one. If you've seen the starter and you already watched our starter unboxing, then you already know that it comes with all the counters that you're gonna need. So it's like, well, what are these? Okay, well, now that I already popped some of these out of here and put them back in there, I was actually looking at this too, and I thought it was kind of strange. I mean, they look cool, they're very colorful and very cool looking and double-sided and pretty neat, and they just absolutely 100% don't want to stay in their little spaces here, so we're just done with that. And they've got just different looks to them, and I was like, we're very puzzled by it all. But here's the explanation they actually say inside of it. So it looks like these are counters for for the different factions that are going to be coming out for Beastgrave. So there might be things that you need to keep track of, and here's the way to do it. But like I said, It's kind of neat in that regard, but $15 for 2 sheets of cardboard tokens, like I said, I think it's a little ambitious on Games Workshop's part. But again, if you're a completionist and you're like, I gotta have everything for this, well, then maybe this product's for you. Next up is the Beastgrave Playmat. Now this is something that I really liked when they came out with the one for Night Vault. Unfortunately, when we got it in to review, it was folded in quarters, and I was like, this makes absolutely no sense. Why the heck would you fold something and inherently you roll up? And I probably went talking about it for a tangent for a good long while, probably longer than anybody cared about to hear on that Night Vault review video. But I was very critical of it because I thought it was very dumb and very over insightful from Games Workshop, and I just knew they could do better, and it turns out they can, because check it out, rolls in a box in the retail shelf, so you don't have to worry about it being jacked up and being folded and having those little fold lines in it and getting a steamer and steaming it all out. And I'm not even sure if that was going to work, because this is inherently mouse pad material, right? It does have a little bit of fold to it. It does have a little bit of sheen to it. So if you really want that matte kind of look, this might not be for you. But I'm sure over time this will lay flat, but rolling it up and putting it back away and then rolling it back out, it might not. So it's really kind of hard to say if this roll is going to come out of it. But I suppose you could always store it face down like this, and maybe just kind of hope that eventually, you know, when you're not using it, it'll just lay flat. But maybe I'll leave it out for a few hours while the video is rendering, and then I can tell you if it did indeed lay flat, and then that way we'll all kind of know. And last but certainly not least is the new Beastgrave carry case. Like I talked about, this was $50, or is $50, and it's much larger than the ones that we've seen in the past. And there's a reason for that, and check it out. So I really like what Games Workshop did here with, now you can put your whole warband and stuff in here as well. It's got the sword breaker foam, as we like to call it, because if you put your models in here incorrectly, it will break your swords off or any pointy bits. But it's got room for all your tokens, your hexes, or your objective hexes, and 2 card decks right there, depending on what you want to do. So I am going to go grab my Underworld stuff and see exactly how much stuff we can load in here, and if the boards fit in here, because that's definitely something that we'd want in here too. And if you can fit the boards in here, perhaps it'll give a little bit extra protection to the models, because just like the other ones, if you push down really hard right here, it's probably going to impact your models even though they're over here. And obviously if you sit on it, that's an issue, but don't sit on your carrying case. So here it is, all loaded up, and you can indeed pretty much fit everything you need to play. At least one warband, your hexes, all your tokens, dice, your activations or your actions, and some charge and ready and guard token thingies right here as well. So that all works pretty good. Fitting more than multiple warband in here might be an issue, because you know, a lot of these guys have 6 or so, sometimes 8. And depending on their size, it might be kind of hard to fit them in here. I got 4 miniatures in here that are kind of big. I mean, you know, Magor's Fiends are decently sized, and it was kind of hard to tuck them all in here and still hopefully keep them protected with all their pointy bits, so to speak. But I think it's doable. Almost. This guy's anything on a 50mm base definitely looks like it's gonna stick up right there. So I'm a little worried about that. But when you put the topper foam on here, you know, in theory it should be okay. Now the other thing I worried about too is once we get it zipped up, if you know, perhaps if you kind of tilt it, if your tokens kind of go everywhere and get mixed up, which I've seen in the past with different storage systems, that now you got to sort all your tokens back out, and it looks like it didn't. So if you keep it pretty well flush with this on top, you shouldn't have any issues. And then as far as the board goes, to get absolutely everything you need in here, well, the board does look like it fits. The problem is, can it close with the zipper? So you can get at least one board in there, and there might be a little bit more wiggle room, but I'm not going to try it with my painted minis in there. There's just a little bit of wiggle room, so it might actually fit more than one in there if you don't have a 50mm Magor's Fiend Hound in there. So that's kind of cool to see. Games Workshop definitely, yep, and everything's still good. Games Workshop definitely thought this one out, and I gotta appreciate that. It is a little bit more expensive, $50 US, as opposed to the $35 price of the previous small carry cases. Oh, and before I pick this all up and give you my final thoughts on everything, if you do want to save a little hobby dollars and not pick up the themed sleeve packs right there, you can just get dragon shields with the mat on the back. I think the matte ones are the key good ones. I really like them. Just get clear ones, and you can use them pretty much for everything because you can see through on the backs of the cards, so you know which piles are your power cards and your ploys and stuff, and then you know which ones are your objectives and such. And then if you got a flip because you inspire, well, then you got that too. And packs of 100, you can pretty much get 2 whole decks worth for like $6, I think. So it saves you a little bit extra hobby dollars. And if you play multiple decks with multiple cards, because sometimes you only get one copy of the card, you can switch between decks because they'll all be the same sleeve. So it's kind of a little bit easy game, easy life at that point. So there's a look at some of the accessories, not all of the accessories. We didn't show you the sleeves and the dice that are coming out for Beastgrave this week. Now, one thing to note is that a lot of these things don't stay in stock. So if you're trying to, pick these up or be a first, early adopter, so to speak, of the new season 3 of Warhammer Underworlds, you might want to pick them up right now because they tend to go out of stock and not get restocked again, and then you'll have a feel badsies as you're trying to find them, and some of these things go for a little bit more on the secondary market on eBay and such, or just do what you got to do and make your own tokens, make your own 3D hexes, and Playmat, of course, out there, and of course, carrying case. But if you do want to get any of these items for less, you can always check them out over on Miniature Market or dicehead.com. Every day you can pick up your Warhams and hobby for less. So that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching our unbox and review of the new Beastgrave accessories. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you can be the very first to like and comment on all our videos.